Hi guys. Hola. How's everybody doing? Just wait for some more people to come in as per. Hi Sarah. Feel like I haven't spoken to you for ages. I did send you an email today though, just so you know. Ooh, I know I fancied a change. I'm always changing my hair. I get bored. Get bored of looking at myself. I don't blame you, to be honest. Oh, hi Daniel, all the way from Turkey. Oh, we've got a friend in Turkey. Oh, thanks, Holly. I feel like a Barbie in this top. Like a Barbie girl. I can't believe you've actually logged on holiday, Daniel. That's so funny. I hope you and Bo are enjoying it. And Bonnie. Hey, Bo. Oh, are you enjoying your holes? I've just been looking at your pictures. I'm jealous, actually. Yeah. I'm Bo. You're a bit late. I think there's a bit of a lag, so just ignore me, guys, if I seem like I'm a bit behind. It's because I'm using software. You enjoying the jollies? Oh no, that is literally fiery water. I don't like Sambuca. It's disgusting. It's one of my worst drinks. Oh, I'm loving the compliments, guys. Keep them coming. I've got a bit of I think I'm getting a bit of a cough as well. Sambuca is disgusting. It's my worst drink. I don't drink Sambuca. Do you like the do, Emma? I feel like I'm always shouting when I'm speaking to you a lot. Don't know why. Right, we're getting there now, so I'm going to start. So tonight, Bo doesn't anymore. I bet she don't. It's disgusting. At one point, you could get chili Sambuca. Oh, hi, Kelly. Oh, God, no. You're making me feel sick already. I'll stick to cups of tea, thanks. I'm such a granny. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit different tonight, guys. Thank you, Emma. That's lovely. I'm going to do things a little bit different tonight, guys. I think I've sussed out the whole lighting situation. I've got two screens that I work from. So I've put the camera on top of one and I'm going to turn it off. So hopefully when I'm holding the cards up, you'll be able to see them. Because it just helps you with like the visual, basically. Helps you to see what I'm seeing. So we're going to do that. Tonight's reading is going to be a little bit different. We're going to get messages from the planets. So these are all personal planets. The Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Okay, Jupiter, Saturn, you know, kind of, they're called social planets, but they all govern the forces that flow through us, basically. So it's going to be a bit the same. Check you thinking ahead. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, yeah. It takes me a while sometimes, Daniel, to catch up. Yeah, I know. Well, I'll tell you why. Oh, can you? Oh, that's lovely. Love Venus. I love Venus. Been learning a lot about her. Yeah, no, I get you, Daniel. Yeah, we're doing reading because I'm trying to show you what I'm seeing. Because if I spell it out for you, you can probably see it. And it just gives you that little bit of reassurance that I'm not just bullshitting you, basically. So I like to show people what I'm seeing if I can. So yeah, I've done a bit of altering, and I will tell you now, I was going to wait till the end of the video, but I think I'll tell you now. I have uploaded, or I am in the process of uploading, take my glasses off. I'm in the process of uploading independent readings for each sign. You can find them on my website. You do need to be a member, but membership's free. So it doesn't cost you anything to be a member. The reason why I've set it up that way is because when I upload new content, you'll get a notification. So if you download the app, and I'll put some instructions up, I'll put some instructions up at the end of the video. It is quite simple, you know. It's a little bit of around the way, but I'll explain it to you. It's quite simple. But then it'll come through to your phone. So like tonight, the live stream is actually being streamed on my website. So people that are not on social media, they can still watch it and they can still access it. So yeah, so that's up there. But I've been all these videos, there is a small charge for the videos. I have to make my money somewhere, guys. And it's £5 a video. They're an hour long. Some of them are over an hour, and it's for each individual sign. So if you look at the description, it'll tell you what the reading's about, and then you can decide whether you want to buy it or not. But they're there for everybody to purchase. I would advise that if you're aware of your, and this isn't me just trying to get money out of you, I'm just being honest. If you know your moon, your rising, or Venus or Mars signs, once you understand what those planets govern, you can then access those readings, because there'll be more messages for you in there. Everybody has every single sign in their being. You know, we all associate with star signs. We're not just our star sign. That's the most apparent thing about us. It's who we are at our very core. Our moon sign is who we are emotionally, on an intuitive emotional level. Our Mercury really governs how we think and how we interact. Our Venus is all about how we love and how we appreciate and value. Mars is about what drives us. It's our passions and our libido. Jupiter is basically about our growth and our sense of expansion and an exploration and an adventure. And Saturn restricts. So Jupiter and Saturn are like two opposite ends of a battery. Jupiter charges and Saturn takes away. So, and Jupiter, you know, implodes and makes things bigger, basically, and Saturn, you know, really kind of shrinks it down. So when you understand those, and this is all information that you will get from a chart reading, a natal reading. I've just put, again, I'm going to crack on with the reading in a second, but I've put an advert out for anybody that is interested in having natal chart reading live, so that people can see what astrology can do. I read for people all over the world, and I've never met them, and I can tell them what job they do, you know, what the relationship with the parents are like. I can tell you if they've had any pets. I can tell you what the partner's like, maybe what job they've got. Like, you know, there's so much you can pull from a chart. That is just in a natal chart. You can do transits, you can do progressions, just so people are aware what they are. Transits really talk about the current energy. So when we're doing tarot, this is very transitory, meaning it can change. Because these cards are governed by what's going on up there. So whenever there's changes in the sky, it will affect the readings. So that's transits. And depending on where your placements are, it's almost like it lights different parts of the chart up. So let's say, for example, you know, you've got Saturn and it's causing a conjunction, meaning it's sitting on top of one of your planets. That is going to play out in your life. And sometimes it's very, very evident. But there's all sorts you can pull from it. You can do progressions. So basically everyone's on their own soul path. Everybody's doing their thing in order to ascend. And a progression shows you where you started, which is your natal, and it shows you where along the path you are. Our sun sign will travel through about, depending where it is, it will travel through about 3 or 4 signs in our life. So for example, my sun started in Aries, so it's all about the self. Aries tend to be quite selfish, to be quite honest with you. They're the ones that usually are very independent because they're the first sign of the zodiac. So then my next, as I progress, I will move through the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is all about what we possess and what we own and what we take ownership of, and it will happen like that in succession, but it does it with all the planets. You can do things called returns. So a return is when a cycle completes. So it's almost like a new moon and a full moon. New moon, full moon, back to the new moon, and every single planet does that, and it's a cycle. It will ping every single area of our life to some degree, and whilst it's doing that, it will make aspects, because life is never just, you know, fragmented. It's like a big stewing pot. That's how you've got to think of it. So really what we're doing when we're looking at a chart is we're divining, and we're really kind of looking at all the ingredients, and we're mixing them and merging them and saying, what is it trying to tell us? It's a little bit like scrying, it's a little bit like scrying. It's like reading tarot, but tarot and astrology are basically two sides of the same coin. Tarot, again, it's very transient and it's very about the now, but it's all very airy-fairy, and it's more celestial when you're reading tarot. when you're finished with your tarot reading and you go, right, okay, I've been told I need to heal. How do I need to do that? That's when you'd go to astrology, because astrology shows you, and it's more progressive. Okay, so you can look at it and say, right, that is what's going on now. This is how it's going to play out. How can I align with that energy so that it works for me? And then what happens is when you actually embody astrology, you can start to use it every single day. So you know when it's a good time to do this. You know when it's going to be a good time to do that. You know, you really start to plan your life. It's like a calendar, but it's like a cosmic calendar. And the reason why we do it is because we avoid lots of pitfalls by projecting ourselves into the future and seeing what's about to come up. If you know that you're approaching a hard aspect, let's just say, let's say your Saturn return, it's the most common one. Everybody fears it because it's grueling, basically. But and that happens every 28 years. So every 28-ish years, you will have a Saturn return, and that's usually when you have these big things. So if you think back to when you were 28, that's when you were kind of getting to your 30s. Think about the things that were happening for you then, and would you say that was a peaceful time in your life or not? Everybody seems to go through the same things, but it just plays out very differently. So that's why we do astrology as well, because that is the nuts and bolts. Like nobody should be reading tarot if they don't understand astrology, because I personally believe it's a bit of black magic. You can't just tell someone, oh my God, this is destined, and then not give them any kind of soundboard, any kind of support. Astrology supports, so they do work together. So what I'm doing tonight is I'm going to get messages from each of the personal planets, and I'm going to read it as if they were talking directly to you. So this is a collective reading. So I'm not going to be saying, well, this means this and that means that, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be reading like it's literally the sun talking to you. Now, the sun is the Heavenly Father. So I want you to imagine that as I'm speaking, and this is what the Heavenly Father would be saying. Now, when we think of the sun's a leader, somebody that we look up to. If we didn't recognize that the sun was rising every day, we wouldn't probably get out of bed, because we'd be like, we don't even know what day it is. It provides light. Without light, there is nothing. So it's life. So it teaches us very valuable life skills. So when I'm interpreting the cards, I want you to bear that in mind, because this is the type of archetype that would be describing or speaking to you. Okay, and I'll go through each one. So I've got a few decks here. I think I picked this one up for a reason, so I'm going to use this one. So we're going to get into it. And these readings, sorry, what's that, Charlotte? My phone's going to mix on my cards, not some dipping out. All right, Charlotte, that's fine. So we're just going to go with the flow, basically. I'm going to try to keep it short because we have got 7 of these to get through. There we go. So I know you're going through a really difficult time right now. It hasn't been easy. You're waking up. I've chucked a lot of shit in your way. Everybody's feeling it. It's not just you. I don't want you to feel like it's just you on your own. There's times in life, this is what I'm getting. There's times in life that I have to show you. Oh, sorry. Right, 1 second. Let me just move my thingy, because I said I was going to... I won't be looking at the camera now, guys, but you'll be able to see the cards at least. Just bear with. Right. So, see? Fixed. Ta-da! So, are you all there still? Because my screen went a bit funny then. There's times in life where we need to be shown the darker side. Okay? We won't understand light until we recognise the dark. I know that you don't like it when I leave you in the dark. You've not missed anything, Charmaine. We've just started. I know that it scares you when I turn the light off and you don't know which way to go. But there's a good reason for that. I do that so that you can find that inner voice of reason, and that the thing that's going to guide you. I'm trying to show you the harsh realities of the things that are going to come your way, because you cannot avoid these pitfalls. This is part of life, and everybody has to experience it. The darker thing, the darker the theme, let's just say, the darker the theme, the deeper you will dig to become a better person. This is character building skills. It isn't enough to be feared without fear itself, if that makes sense. I'm getting something about, sorry, I know that I'm disrupting it, but I'm getting something about, this is how you make men of mice. You chuck them in the deep end. You've been thrown in the deep end. And if you stop flapping about, you might just realise that you can actually swim. Everybody sinks from time to time, but you have to keep the faith, because it's the only thing that's going to get you to the top. And it's the only thing that's going to push you to rise above it all. We have to see the darker nature so that we can make the decision to turn away from it. All the destruction and the damage that it causes, the illness and the sickness, but also the healing that comes from it as well. There are things in this life that you will never experience. I will never give you anything more than you can handle. But you have to have faith that I'm showing you what you need to see. I'm trying to open your eyes so that you can avoid unnecessary hurt. Sometimes it's going to sting and sometimes it's going to burn, but there's always a solution that can remedy it. Do not fear death. We die 1,000 times while we are alive. And once we truly understand it, we'll know that there is nothing to fear. This is how diamonds are formed. Pressure. Immense pressure. And diamonds are solid, and so are you. Because a diamond is a star. And all stars burst. All stars implode. And in doing so, it births many others. Stars are really the thing that light the way for other people. They are the breadcrumbs of suffering. And they paint a very vivid picture. That's deep. This is nice. Every time you look at the sky, I want you to count each blessing. Every time you look at the sky, I want you to count each scar, each bruise, each cut. And I want you to recognise that you are still very much alive. There isn't anything that you haven't overcome to date. You are stronger than you think you are. You have immense strength, in fact. You are a very powerful human being. And you are full of magic. That's true. There are reactions that are contained within a human soul far too complex to comprehend sometimes. And this is the reason why people do things that we don't understand. But sometimes it's not for us to understand. Be careful not to get in the way of other people's karma, or else it becomes your own, because karma is transferable, and it can, and then the sword of karma swings both ways. Some people are meant to fail. Some people are meant to fail because that's their destiny, and it isn't down to you to keep them afloat, because we are all handed the same lessons in life, just in different fragments. Pain is pain, and that is that. And it's something to be embodied, as difficult as it might be. Grief is never for the other person. Grief is not for the departed, but a very selfish emotion, because we don't grieve the departed, we grieve our loss of them. In order for the departed to truly vibrate at its highest rate, it's down to us to release them from our grasp. If anybody wants to know what I mean by that, just drop me a comment, because I can explain it. I know that's a bit, you know, it's a bit esoteric what I'm speaking now, because this card is Plutonian energy. So it's very, very cryptic language, and I understand that. But if there's anything that stands out to anybody, then I'm happy to explain it. I'm going back to scars again now. So scars on the skin are war wounds that you should take pride in. They do not make you ugly, they make you authentic and rare as a jewel. And it should be something of a talisman of protection that you have already come through the other side. The most purest and sacred of all things is born through pain, such as children. There is no life without pain. And it's something that we all need to understand, because the more that we do, and the more that we acquaint ourselves with death and pain and sacrifice and release, the less scary it becomes and the less fearful we are. It really does humble us. It makes us better people, and this is how it shapes our character. Because if there was no death and if there was no release, the world would be in more chaos than it is now, because many souls are suffering to the point of madness, because there is a reluctance to let go of the old version of who they are, trying very, very hard to fit into groups and scenarios and situations that just do not serve them anymore. The pressure that builds within becomes implosive, and that can really cause damage to the environment, but also to the soul as well. I understand that when it comes to deep traumas, we are often lost for words. But that doesn't mean that the trauma doesn't exist. It just means that we haven't attached ourselves to it fully, so that we're able to comprehend it fully. The reason why I shine my light so bright every single day is to light the way and to show you that you are not alone. Everybody has to pay the toll to make it through. Everybody has to pay the price. There is no such thing as a free man in the heavens. There is more death on the planet Earth than there is in the sky. And everybody bears a ghost. And if you look closely enough, you'll be able to see it. Haunted castles. That's interesting. Haunted castles. Even the palace can be a prison. And it really is down to you to decide how you decorate that room. Interesting. Cellular function. This is minuscule. This happens on a minute level to the point where you may just miss it if you don't look through a squinted eye. But you will see trauma in the face of every human being. Everybody that graces this planet is traumatized. It's the only way that they could make it into this realm is through pain. So we need to learn to live with it. And this is why I shine so bright, so that you may find that seed in order for it to crack, in order for it to bloom, and in order for it to die, because that's the cycle of life. This is a very important lesson to learn, because too many people learn it too late, and too many people lose out because they learn it too late. Make sure that you love the people in your life right now, because now is all that there is. There is no such thing as tomorrow. There is no such thing as yesterday. There is just asleep and awake, and that is it. Don't put it off. Do it now. Make that decision, regardless of how painful it might be. Let go of fear and throw yourself off the cliff. Take the risk, because it might just be worth it and it could change your life. There is a lot of beauty to be found in letting go. It's fear that holds us back. And once you start to dig, and once you start to unearth, and once you start to realise that there is much more to existence than you have ever dreamed before, that's truly when your life will begin. So that's a message from the sun. That was a bit deep. I was expecting it to be nice and light-hearted. Did that resonate for anyone? Did anyone get out of that? I hope so. Sometimes when I do these channeled readings, my mind just, I don't even know where it goes. It just goes off. Sometimes I can't even remember what I've even said. Oh, thanks, Kelly. So now we're going to get messages from the moon. So I think in a nutshell, just to summarise, that was a really, really deep message in regards to the sense of self, you know, and our own self-esteem and character building. I think it's a really important message to get out there, that when you feel like you're failing, just know that everybody else feels like that too. When you feel like you're suffering, everybody else feels like that too. Some people are just more vocal. That's simply it. Some people have more vocabulary to be able to describe the traumas that they experience, whereas some people just don't. You know, maybe they're just not supposed to, but don't think for a second that it isn't there, because it flows through every human being alive. And you know, again, I keep saying this, different devils on different levels. That's all it is, but it's the same pain. Pain is pain. That's it. It's as dry as that, you know. We don't need to explain it. You say to somebody, I'm in pain, then they should just know, you know. You shouldn't have to, oh, why? Well, that's not for you to know. You just need to know I'm in pain. Because, you know, there's a secretiveness to that message. There is a very deep. That was on the deepest level of soul communication. You don't get much deeper than the Pluto Scorpio energy, you know. But it's about ascension and rising above it all. You know, even when you feel like you can't anymore, you will always birth a new version of yourself. Because the most dangerous thing in the world is for the soul to die. It's not the body. The body is waste product. It comes It's basically sputum of the earth. That's what we are. We are the scum of the earth, basically, if you want to think of it like that. It's, the earth doesn't need us, as in each individual person, to survive. It will just keep going. It will go on without us. But for the soul to die, that's what hell is. That is a hellish life. And that's why it's hard. That's why it's important to keep your vibration high and to raise that of others and the people that are around you, because one day that you're not going to get that. You're not going to get to do that. So that was deep. So now we're going to move on to the moon. And the moon, I'm guessing the moon's going to be somewhat similar because, well, I'm guessing, I don't know. Because the moon is all about our feelings and emotions. So this is our mother, okay? So this is Mother Moon, who is our nurturer. She's the one that brings us comfort. The sun is the one that teaches, he educates and shows. The moon is much more subtle. So Queen of Swords. I hear every single word that you say in your silence. There are some things that do not need to be said. Vibrational frequency is louder than any spoken word. You have been doing a lot of thinking lately, and you've also been praying, and I've heard you. You're feeling lost at the moment, and you're wondering if things will ever get better, because you have endured a lot and your heart has taken a beating. It's brutal. It's been really, really brutal. But I need you to understand that your heart is a seed, and that every time it cracks and it aches, it is because you are becoming a better version of yourself. We never really pay attention to a heart that beats. We only pay attention to a heart that skips a beat. That's when you know that you are alive. Some things cannot be explained by logic or rational thinking. Some things need to be felt. And if you block out those emotions and that ability to open up, then you also block out the ability for anything to enter. And life will remain dim and lifeless. Love is the current that really drives us all. And sometimes it doesn't make sense at all. But love, emotion and thought are two separate things. They do work in union, but they are very separate things. Do not feel bad for loving those that have not shown you love, because it says more about your character than it does about theirs. And again, that's painful, but it's absolutely necessary, because it's the only way that you can see your worth and what you are willing to tolerate. It takes a very strong mind to walk away from something that you believe is meant for you. But you need to understand that a loss is not always a loss. And that when you are on the other side of the hurt, you will be looking through very different eyes, and you will see what you need to see. Life is a reflection and it's a mirror, and the people that enter our life are also the same. If you do not like what you see in another, you need to ask yourself why. What has that person done to make me dislike them? Is that person nasty, or am I weak? Because why do I tolerate it? Why do I return to it? Do I not value myself enough? Why do I care so much about what others think of me? There is a need to seek comfort in your solitude. You need to understand that the silence is where all the answers lie. The opinions of others are empty words because their thoughts do not connect to your heart. You are a vessel of high intelligence, and angels speak through you every single day. But it's down to you to recognize what it is that they're trying to tell you. Turn away from earthly matters and inwardly and feel the flow of spirit. Try to define it in as many words as you can, even if they are just words for now. Because those words will turn into sentences, and that sentence will become a paragraph, and that paragraph will eventually become a book. And it will become a book that you can choose to continue writing or shut the page on, finish, done. Everybody is a politic. It's true. Everybody will always have something to say. And by default, somebody that is not you is automatically your opposition. You need to learn to have your own back and to put your trust and faith in yourself, because trust is not something to be put into another person, regardless of how nice they are. It's for you. It's a gift for you, not for them. Stop misplacing your trust and start putting it into what matters. Every number is divisible except for the one. Relationships should signify unity, not division and separation. How many times are you going to put yourself through this until you open your eyes enough to see that you are the one that's tolerating it? It's not them, it's you. That's a hard lesson. It's true though. It isn't them, it's you. I've taught you so much kindness. I've taught you childlike freedom. I've taught you happiness. I've taught you bliss, and I've taught you contentment. So why did you throw my gifts away? It pains me to see you so cold and rigid. The soul should flow fluently, and it shouldn't stab. There is a lot going on around you that you probably want to run away from. But if you can see the beauty that lies beneath the skin of other people, then soon enough you will see that beauty in yourself. A heart that is full of hope will eventually become sick. And that is the true curse. Do not waste your time waiting. What are you waiting for? Do it now. Stop sleeping on yourself. Wake up. Because it's only you that can do it. Nobody sees the world through the eyes that you see the world through. You are completely unique in every single way. There will never be another like you. You need to understand that you are here for a reason and a purpose. And that purpose isn't for another to destroy. Who are they to destroy you? I think that's it. I think that's it for that one. Oh, did that even make any sense? I don't even know if it made any sense, that. Two of Pentacles just flew out, so I'm going to interpret this, but I'm not going to read it like I have. I feel like this is an additional message. This is about backwards and forwards. There is something that you are going backwards and forwards with, okay? Really, really kind of doing your own heading about it, I feel like, you know, deep in contemplation. Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and it's almost like it's becoming a little bit of a circus, to be quite honest with you. This is what I'm getting. Choppy waters, you know, mixed emotions, not really knowing, you know, not really having a sense of direction, that kind of thing. Just really, I'm getting a sense of imbalance here. There's something that's imbalanced, and since it's a message from the moon, it's emotional imbalance. So there does need to be a sense of healing here. There needs to be a sense of drying out. This is what I'm getting. You need to dry out. Water is absorbed by matter. So if you are somebody that is going through it emotionally right now, then you really need to get yourself back out there. That doesn't mean dating. I'm not saying that, you know, don't push yourself towards doing anything that you don't want to do. But what I'm saying is, you know, sometimes we can get lost in that spirit world. We can get lost in that soul. It's a very, very low vibration, and it's so deep. You know, the gravity of it is immense. Think about the gravity that exists within the universe. It's such a force. So if we don't do what we need to pull ourselves out of it, then it will consume us completely, literally. And, you know, that's depression. That is like deep depression. And we all know where that can lead to. So there is a need to get out. So even if you don't feel like going for a walk, go for a walk. If you don't feel like, you know, even if you don't feel like moving your body, move your body. Every time you tell yourself no, sit, you know, really like check yourself and say, no, yes, I need to do that. I need to do that. This is really a message of about listening to that intuition inside yourself, because, you know, by blocking it out, you really are blocking your blessings. You really are. The moon is what we use to navigate the unseen world. And we all know that there is an unseen world. You know, that's the only reason why we get into relationships, is because there is something that exists between two people that you can't find in somebody else. And I'll tell you what it is. It's chemistry. It's brain chemistry. You know, and that's strengthened, especially during intercourse. That is strengthened. So I feel like there is a message as well, because it's from the moon. I just kind of want to say, if you are sleeping with somebody at the moment, or Tim, I don't know whether to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm glad you tuned in anyway. We're doing messages from each of the personal planets, each of the gods, and to see what messages they can give the collective, basically. I want to say that if you are sleeping with somebody at the moment, but, you know, I'm not trying to be vulgar, like we're all adults, just know that there is a chemical reaction that takes place within the body. Okay, and it's the same for men and women. However, women quite naturally, ruled by the moon, ruled by water, tend to be a little bit more absorbive. I don't know if that's the right word, you know, but they tend to soak up a lot. And what really happens is when the fluids are exchanged, let's just say, if that doesn't create life external, it creates life internal. Now, if you are sleeping with somebody, oh, perfect. If you are sleeping with somebody that you know is not a good person, and you may be questioning yourself as to why am I sleeping with this person, I'll tell you why. It's because you are addicted to the chemistry, because women release oxytocin, and oxytocin makes you feel good, and it's addictive. And for men, it's testosterone. So, you know, it's one of those, That's really what it is. And then you end up getting really depressed because you feel like a bad person. Then you're like, why am I chasing this absolute arsehole? You know, all he does is ruin my life. And I'm not saying that it's just men, you know, women can do this too. But that's why, is because we have two brains. We have an animal brain and we have a godly brain. And our animal brain is instinctive and it wants what it wants. It's the devil. That's the devil that exists. We are the beasts. We are beasts. We're animals. And then we have the God mind, and the God mind is the higher mind saying, I just don't want to deal with this anymore. It's damaging. It's ruining my soul. It's depleting me. My life's a mess. You know, I'm all over the place, and you're at war with yourself. So until your God mind can defeat the animal beast mind, you will continue to return. And the heartbreak that is felt after the end of a relationship is withdrawal symptoms. From that, it's an addiction. That's basically what it is. You know, we use so many words to describe the same thing, but ultimately it all boils down to the one thing: love or pain. That's it. They're just, you know, they're two ends of the opposite spectrum, basically. So yeah, everything's chemistry. Everything's atom. I'm actually going to do a video about this. Adam is an atom. Atom man. We are atoms. We're all atoms. The world is an atom. The solar system is probably an atom, you know, and I can explain it in another video. I'm not going to go into it on here, but once you understand that, you will understand life, basically. That is all there is. So now we're going to do messages from Mercury. Let's see what's going on there. Yeah, do you know, Tim, everybody's been working on healing karmic cycles at the moment. I think it's what's going on with Pluto in the air. Pluto's causing some big changes. We've just shifted into a whole new age, the Aquarian age, and Aquarius is, you know, you will start to see now moving forward. This is going to be throughout the next 2,000 years, because that's how long it's called the precession. It's because of the wobble of the Earth. Okay, basically it's wobbled out. So the constellations now. I'll just tell you a little bit. The constellations have slipped slightly. So when we do astrology, it's tropical astrology that's based on the signs. But then you also have Vedic astrology, which is like Indian astrology, I believe, which is more about the stars. And it's almost like we've got two zodiacs, if you want to think of it that way. We've got the near and we've got the far. Oh, Sarah. Yeah, Pluto likes you, doesn't he? So yeah, so that's the difference, really. I've lost my trail of thought. Oh yeah, so really, the shift. You know, I don't think people that are not of astrology mind really understand the weight of what we're experiencing right now. It is a massive shift. It only happens every 2,000 years. And I feel like people, you know, how weird was it that we got COVID? COVID shut down the whole world. It was almost like, if you think of the world as a cell, that cell almost died because everybody was struggling to function. People were dying, you know, people were sick. We weren't allowed to go outside. And to be quite honest, I think that's absolutely ludicrous because it was in the air. So wearing gloves and a mask is not going to protect you from an airborne disease. It's particles that are so minute, you can't even see them. So if the universe wants you to become sick, you will become sick. And it was a natural way to rid the earth of, you know, I know this sounds really awful and I don't mean it to, but it's a way of ridding the earth of the debris, if that makes sense. Because everybody, all of a sudden, is anxious. Everyone said, oh, COVID's made me really anxious because I was in all the time and I didn't want to go out. COVID didn't make you anxious. Well, it did, but it wasn't because you was in. It was because of the actual germ of COVID. That was us being infused with this very strange, very overwhelming, overbearing, you know, digestion. You know, our bodies were really taking in what was being emitted from the sky, you know. People say, well, so-and-so caused COVID. It was a person here, it's a person there. If the planets didn't want COVID to exist, then it wouldn't. It's as simple as that. Well, you've had it 3 times, Tim, and you're still here to tell the tale. So 3 is a very creative number, so I'd do some numerology on that. But Aquarius does rule the air. It rules the sky, it rules the cosmic, it rules the deepest realms of the sky that we can possibly even probably not imagine. It rules things like conspiracy theories. Well, COVID was. It rules things like astrology. All of a sudden, it's reared its head again. You know, astrology comes and goes. It's like a wheel; it turns. And it rules things like science and advancements. Well, what happened? We created a new vaccine. So you really, you know, and these are, you know, these are written in books that go way back into millennia, into ancient times, you know, and they're basically saying this is what's going to happen, and it happened because they knew, because they used astrology as a tool of divination. You know, astrology isn't really something to believe in. People say, oh, you don't believe in that crap, do you? Well, it's not really something to believe in. It's something to ponder. It's something to think about, because you will start to see it. And it's almost like you see it that often and go, that you actually cannot ignore it. It's like, no, something in this, even though there is no hardcore solid truth. And sorry, not truth, fact, because you're working with ether, which is particles, which is atoms and ions. But, you know, we don't need to be told that someone's lying to instinctively know that they're lying. There's something within us, and usually we find out that we're right. So there's a message there as well for people. And, you know, don't believe everything that you're told. I don't watch television. I can't remember the last time I turned my TV on. I just don't do it because it's just full of lies. And we've been programmed, you know. Why do you think they shove us into school first thing, the minute we're born? The minute we're born, you know, it gets put down to, let me just tell you this, and I know that I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's really important that it's coming up now. When we are born, the first thing they do is weigh us. They write down the time that we're born, and we write down, you know, they make a note of where we're born. They are the basis of a birth chart. Time, place, date. It's the hospitals, which is a governmental, you know, establishment, that is the first to have this information. When you get a birth certificate, that is basically your golden ticket onto planet Earth. It's like the golden ticket, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You cannot enter, or you know, you're not deemed as a civilian of Earth if you do not have a birth certificate. Really what that is a slave bond, because what they'll do is they'll monitor you growing up and say, why ain't this kid in school? Why ain't they at college? Why aren't they at uni? Why ain't you got a job? How sick are you? Can you prove that you're sick? How long are you going to be sick for? What medicine are you taking? I don't fucking know. Do you know, it's one of those, and they do it so that they can monitor you. And everyone keeps going on about all this technology coming in, and, you know, I don't like it. You know, we're being watched in cameras, and we've always been watched. We've always been watched since they've brought in all these deeds. It's an agreement. It's basically agreement to say that, you know, this is who you are. I find it really interesting in the UK that they don't actually put your time of birth on your birth certificate. It's literally omitted. Why? You've got every other bit of detail and information on there, but no time. It's almost like you don't want us to know. And I'll tell you why. Is because your time is your barcode. Your date of birth and your time of birth is your personal barcode, and that is who you are. And if you suss that out, and you suss out astrology, you then become very powerful, because you know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You know, if your chart says that you are somebody who is a very potent leader, and you actually decide to follow through on that, chances are you're going to become a very powerful leader. That is how these leaders, you know, these people are not any different to anybody else, except for the fact that they are aware of who they are and what their strengths are, and they utilize them. And one person has enough to shift the perspective of a whole entire world. Everybody tunes in. You know, this is a bit of a dark example, but Hitler, you know, he was a bad guy. Everybody knows that. It was not nice, but the power that man emitted, and the way that he used that, and the destruction that he caused, that one person, it was like a bomb going off. And literally that's what happens when a woman births a child. It's a star being born into the world. That's what we are, and we will continue to implode and implode and implode as we grow and we grow until the final time, and we die. That's it. And then it just happens again. We return to the ether, and then it just happens again. World has always been here. It's never going to die. It won't die. I don't believe anyway, and I truly believe that it will just never will. It's always been here, and it will always be here. We just forget. So, messages from Mercury. You need to chill the F out. I knew Mercury's would be quite cheeky because it rules children, Mercury. But you need to take time, basically. You're doing far too much running about. How are you ever going to catch a break? You need to stop and smell the flowers. Stop arguing with people. Stop trying to prove yourself to people. Stop trying to prove your worth to people. Stop talking to people that do not want to hear what you have to say. Quietly remove yourself from their presence. The truth will always prevail. And as long as it's truth that you contain, you can be assured that you will always win. Most people are too timid to admit when they are wrong. They see this as a weakness. But if you are somebody that cannot be told when you are wrong, then how can you be somebody that learns? Listening is one of the hardest skills to ever acquire because it requires stillness. And stillness isn't something that people find easy to do. A busy mind creates disharmony, overwhelm, anxiety. It perishes the blood. The vibrational frequency emitted from a negative and busy mind causes damage within the nervous system. Anxiety is not a bad thing. Anxiety is not an illness. It feels like an illness, but it's because we are so far removed from it. The world is an overwhelming place, and you need to understand that. But when you feel anxiety radiating throughout your body, that's us letting you know that we are here to protect and serve. There is no rest for the wicked. So if you are unrested, do you fall into that category? Are you doing too much? Are you paying into the wrong things? Are you investing your time wisely? Are you part of the problem? And what is the solution? Nobody has all the answers. Nobody does. So stop asking and figure it out for yourself. There needs to be a sense of self-reliance. There needs to be a sense of duty to the self. Because if you are not in alignment, then nothing in your life will be in alignment. It's not selfish to take time out to breathe. It's not selfish to go off on your own path. It's not selfish to say no if you don't want to do something. That's you looking after yourself and your health and your mental well-being. More times than not, the guilt that we feel is not ours, because we are aware that there is other things that we want to do. It's the other person that makes us feel guilty, but it's not ours. Work on saying things with your chest. Fill your lungs up full of air and say it with your chest. Because if you do that, if you speak truth with your chest, you will only need to say it once. Not everybody has the resilience to hear the word no. So you are going to upset people from time to time. You are going to be deemed the bad guy. You are going to be looked upon like you are a problem. But that's you that's being looked upon, not you doing the looking. Let people form their own opinion and judgment of your character, because that is not your problem. You do not need to worry about that. You cannot please everybody and live a fulfilling life. Not every customer is going to be happy with the purchase. Some people have a problem for every solution. Do not exhaust yourself and your resources trying to prove them wrong or right or whatever. Let it go. Simply let it go. Because if we chased, hi Janet, if we chased every sentence in order to put a full stop on it, then we would be forever chasing. There is no such thing as closure. It's a myth. It's a myth that we've used and created to satisfy the mind as a means to put it to rest. There is no closure. It's cyclical. It just continues. Learn to let things go and know when to shut your mouth. Silence is golden. And if you're quiet for long enough, people will often tell on themselves. There is a lot to be said about somebody that can stand strong in the face of adversity. There's a lot to be said about somebody who can withstand immense rejection, but still hold their own because they are standing in their truth. That's strength. And a lot of people are not going to like that. There's a time to interact and there's a time for exchange, but there is also a time for rest and contemplation. If you don't have a plan, how can you be sure you're going in the right direction? When was the last time you checked which direction you were actually going? Ask yourself if you feel lost and if you need to make a change, if you need to switch it up, and is that something that needs to happen now? And if the answer is yes, do it. Stop wasting time. There is no such thing as time. So you are just wasting life. Every breath that you take is one breath less that you will take. So stop wasting it on people that do not deserve it. Because silence speaks louder than any word ever can. Cut them out and do it viciously. Not every situation needs to be met with kindness. That doesn't mean to say that you need to create the mess in the first place, but not every situation deserves kindness. Coldness and callousness and a turning away is a hard enough lesson, because the people that scream the loudest are the ones that need the most love. They're the ones that want to be heard the most. Silent strength, Tim, yeah. B. So thank you for this, Tim. I think you've just inspired. But be silently non-conformist. Be silently non-conforming. That's what I'm trying to get at. Be silently non-conforming. Do not be a lawful rebellion. Rebellion? Yeah, I think that's it. Do not be lawfully rebellious. There is something much more graceful in somebody that moves in silence and with strength, because they could enter a room and the whole room will shift on its feet, because that's power and it's control. Now, that's a really interesting message, because I don't even know where that came from, but it's true, basically, with regards to that. Like, you know, you every single person that's watching this reading now bears the power to be able to shift a room. Even if you don't think that you do, you do. You just haven't tapped into it yet. That's simply it. You just haven't tapped into it yet. That's a really powerful message about mind control. And I don't mean mind control as in let's control the masses and, you know, all of that crap. I mean, this is about personal mind control. You know, this is about that really, really serious mind control. Or, for example, let's say if you had an addiction and somebody's waving, I don't know, a bag of weed in front of your face, and you know you've got a problem, but you still stand true and say, no, I don't want it, because I know that it's not good for me. It makes me, you know, anxious or whatever, to the point where it's ruining my life. For you to be able to say no, that is strength, because it's about mind control. So what you're actually doing is you are directing that chemistry of the brain. And you're kind of doing it willfully. And this is what magic is. This is what alchemy is. It all happens in here. So when people say you're mad, yeah, you want to be mad, because it takes a little bit of madness to be able to even wrap your head around what's really going on inside when you can't see it. But for some reason, everybody knows it. Everybody knows that there is truth in this somehow. And that's really what you need to be solid in, because if you have a solid belief, then nothing else matters. It really, really doesn't. This is very, very thinky. This is about learning to assimilate those two opposing forces within the brain. Again, this is about that animal brain and that God brain, and bringing them into alignment. Do not let other people corrupt your frequency, because they will, without even realizing they will. So if you feel like that's what's happening, you shut that shit down straight away and you get out the back door and you say, see you later. And sometimes you don't even do that, you just walk. So we've done Sun, Moon, Mercury. Now we're on to Venus. So I'm going to use these cards for Venus. Confidence and self-love resonates higher frequency. Absolutely, it's the highest. People sense it, they do. That's right. And that's why, you know, the 12th house, Neptune, is the highest vibrational frequency. Neptune rules mysticism, spirituality. It was naturally, the 12th house was governed by Jupiter, and Jupiter is God's frequency. Neptune is water, okay? So it's like the most godly emotion, you know, it's like it resonates with that high vibration on an emotional level, on a soul level. This is so, I love how these cards come out. So this is Venus, okay? Oops, the camera's over here. Venus, look at this picture. it couldn't get any better, really, could it? I really love this card for some reason. Every time I use this deck and this card falls out, I love it. So if you had a chocolate for every piece of love that you've given another person, and you had a piece of chocolate for every love that was given to you, how much chocolate would you have? That's a riddle. Human beings have a tendency to want to give. It's a natural instinct to be giving. It's a natural instinct to want to surrender the soul for another. And again, this is not a weakness. Love is the highest vibrational frequency. But love of another person is sometimes mistaken. Love is not lust, and love is not desire. Love is not controlling, and love is not dominant. Love is free and freedom. and liberation. Love is being exalted so that you can reach the heavens. It shouldn't feel heavy, and you should not feel weighted. You should not feel sick, and you should not feel depleted. People will come to you in a guise. The meat suit is not the person. Everybody is formed from the pushes and pulls of the planets and the gods. Some people embody more dark matter than others. And to the naked eye, you will not see this. Take your time. There's nothing wrong with being friends. Friends is where it starts. This is a powerful message. Stop letting everybody pollute your waters. You are not a whore. Interesting. And this, this goes for men too. This is not just women. There's no gender. You want to be as pure as possible for yourself, not for anybody else. Because that's the only way that you will see the light truly reflect out into life. Giving everybody access to you as a means to attain love will only turn you into a swamp filled with dirt and grime. Because unfortunately, a lot of humanity is filled with dirt and grime and will be until they cleanse and ascend. Everybody is trying to do this. Everybody is trying to love themselves. But where they're getting it wrong is they are using other people to do that. They expect another to be perfect. They expect another to provide what they are missing. And that is not fair. That is not love. You cannot expect another to be at the level that you are not. And you cannot expect another to know love in the way that you do. All you can expect from them is honesty, communication, openness, and a willingness to want to improve. But anything that is forced is not love, and anything that isn't given freely isn't love, because love is giving and kind and warm and safe. Self-love is the most potent form of love. When you truly learn to love yourself, it will pour forth from your pores, which is why you have pores, because you can pour. You are a vessel and you are a jug, an urn. We are an urn, and things can be emitted, but they can also be absorbed. Again, not everything that you see in this life is all that there is. And I'm getting this message again. You have been conditioned to believe that your sight and your smell and your taste and your touch are the only things that navigate you through life. They are the only things that navigate you through Earth. But you are Earth. And there are things that exist within you that navigate through Earth, if that makes sense, through nature. The structure of nature can sometimes be chaotic, but it is always beautiful and always rewarding. Oh, thanks, Tim. That's so lovely. Thank you so much. Love is pure white light. It's not fragmented. You will know when you find it, because it will blind you. It will stare you in the face and it will blind you. And for a moment, time will stand still. And that's when you know that it's love. You will see it. And it's almost like you will see God in that person, regardless of whether you believe in God or not. Doesn't matter what religion you are. If you don't have a religion, love is love and love is God. And when you understand God, you will understand what I'm saying. It's fulfilling. It fills you up. But it doesn't make you sick. When love is pure, this is a good one. When love is pure, it can be indulged fully. It will not damage the body. It will not drown you. It will not make you sick. It will not pollute. It will just flow through you as naturally as a stream flows through the mountains. Life will spring forth when you find love. It's only decay that exists in darkness. Within love, there lives all things, and all things are born through love. If you are in a relationship that takes away, then you can rest assured that what you're experiencing isn't love. It's some other emotion that you haven't got a word for yet. Sorry, dictionary. Love is kind and love is soft. And if you can't find it out there, then at least give it to yourself. Learn to love. Learn what love is. Spell it and say it and think about it and research it and ask people about it and do it as if you are looking through brand new eyes, because that's what you want. You want pure love. And pure love is new love, and new love is untainted. And if it means that you need to develop some understanding of what it is so that you can embody it before you decide where to put it, if that makes sense, you need to do that, because really it's our responsibility as adults to do that. Everything that we think we are missing, we need to find, because we will always deplete another human being by imposing our will onto them and saying, you need to love me. They don't have to love you. And in actual fact, that love can be taken away like that because it's borrowed. It's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. It's a gift. Just like an STD is a gift. Believe it or not, it's not a nice gift, obviously, but if your partner, if you are with a committed partner, you know, let's say you've been with them a long time, and all of a sudden you get an STD, that's not nice. It's not nice, but in fact, it's a gift, because the gods are saying, this person has done a dirty on you, and this is how we're telling you. So it's a gift. So you accept it graciously, and you do what's right. You do what you need to do. And that's how the universe loves us, even through all that horribleness, you know, even through that pain of, oh my God, my heart's breaking. That's love, because you needed to wake the fuck up. That person didn't love you. It's awful, but it didn't. And so then you know that that isn't love, and you will go off in search of it, because it's the only thing that carries us forward. It's the only thing worth living for, really, if you think about it. So, you are very wise. I feel wrong. Only believe it. Oh, thank you, Tim. That's a really nice comment. Shall I put it up for people to see? I forgot I could do this. This is what Tim, this is because I've got people on Facebook, but I've also got people on YouTube as well. So I like that I could do this, because I can share comments around the group. So that's a really nice comment, Tim. Thank you so much. I do believe I've got an old soul. I've got Capricorn in the first house, and I've got Sagittarius rising. So, you know, they are quite old souls. Sagittarians are very religious, very spiritual healers, wounded warriors, and Capricorn is the devil. But it goes, you know, the devil goes right back to antiquity. So it's very tied up to tradition, things like that. So, and I'm a bit of a devil, actually. So yeah. But yeah, this is a nice, I feel like one last thing to say on this card is, when you feel loved. You will feel like you are floating. And I feel like this is, and you know, once upon a time, I was that girl that needed to be told this. That if it hurts, it isn't love. It doesn't matter what you do for that person. It is not love, okay? And the reason why it isn't love is because that love, they don't know what it is themselves. They try to convince you that they love you. It's gaslighting, they call it. This is our modern day and age. But really, it's their lack of understanding. And they get frustrated and they take it out on you. And they make you feel like you're unlovable. But that's not the case, because if you didn't know what love was, you'd have been out the door. These people will deplete the shit out of you and they will suck you dry. All of that blood that you have in your body, that life force, that vital life force, they will sap you dry to the point where you are just an empty skin. And that is death. That is spiritual suicide. When you put yourself through that, that is trauma, self-imposed trauma, and you call it love. It's not love. So that's an important message that some people need to hear. So Mars, we are getting there, guys. We've just got Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, and then, you know, we'll close up for the night. So I'll go back to the beginning, to the deck. Use this one. So now we've got Mars. So now Mars really talks about our libido, our driving force, our motivation. Caps usually are the married ones, Tim. Very traditional. Queen of Pentacles. The Moon, shadow work. Now, this is really interesting because I feel like all of this reading, take it as a collective message. I know they're very independent and they're very separate, but if you think about them, they're all very, you know, they all correspond with one another, actually. It talks about healing. It talks about, you know, relationships, recognizing what love is and what love isn't. The fact that we need to purify and why we need to purify. Why do we need to rid ourselves of all this bad blood? You know, is it even ours? Or is it something we've absorbed? You know, is it something we've been conditioned to believe? Have we done enough work to prove that that's a valid thought? You know, have we done our research? This really is a reading of maturity, mature love, you know, and self-love, because that is mature love, you know. So this is really interesting that this has come out. I'm an Aries too, Tim. It's Aries sun. Aries sun, Libra moon, so I'm a contradiction. People think that I'm a fiery person. In actual fact, I'm quite a balanced and harmonious person. I like peace and quiet. I'm just loud. So the moon, Mars. All is fair in love and war. All is fair in love and war. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If they have the audacity to throw it your way, have the intellect to throw it right back. Every man is armed with a shield and a spear. And if you do not throw that spear, then it will not land. When you fight, make sure it's for a reason. When you lose, make sure they know it was through love. Do not walk away with resentments. Do not harbour resentments. Bad blood is the downfall of the whole kingdom. Remorse and guilt is not to be housed in the body. The body is a womb and a tomb, and some things need to be cast out and buried. You have had a lot of hard knocks in life. You have been beat up, maybe literally. You've been let down. You've been deceived. You've been stabbed in the back, betrayed, lied on. You've had so much shade thrown your way. It's almost uncalculable. Rumours spread like wildfire because birds that flock, birds of a feather flock together. People don't like to feel threatened when faced with strength. But your strength of character is enough to shake men to the core. When you show up, make sure you show up for yourself. Not because you are being selfish, but because you represent the tribe of people that live with honour and integrity. Because really that's what life is about. An honest man is a man of integrity. Nobody wants to be stabbed in the back. It's cowardice. Stab me in the heart with the truth, like a man. Give it to me raw, because that is the energy of Mars. And let it burn. But at least you did it with honour. I cannot fault a man that is honest, even if what he speaks is painful. It's much easier medicine to swallow than a lie. Mankind is weak at the moment. There is no sense of solidarity anywhere. It's important to look after yourself. Again, not to be selfish, but because instinctively our bodies go into survival mode. But it's also important not to live in survival mode because it is exhausting. Make sure that you reserve your energy for when it's necessary. You do not always need to fight. Sometimes it's better to walk away. An exertion of energy is like throwing money out the bank, throwing money out the window. You are expending far too much on people. Oh, thanks, Sarah. You are spending far too much on people that cannot afford you. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was one of the greatest empires known to man. It was fortified with strength and honour and vigour and valiance, whatever it's called. Seize the day. Carpe diem. And make sure that when you show up to conquer. Because you are important. You are the one that leads the masses. Do not shrink yourself to fit in anybody's ideology. If someone tells you you are one thing, do not believe them until you feel that yourself, until you come to that understanding yourself. Question it. Question everything. Because people are dishonourable. Not everybody, but you will know. Because real sees real. Light sees light. Look after your brothers and sisters. And look after your neighbour. And when I say that, I don't mean Billy Bob that lives next door. I mean the body. Look after your body. You are not your body. Your body is your vessel. You are a spirit with a body. You are a brain and a spinal cord and a nervous system. That is it. That is you. You are not you, and your body is your vessel, and you need to take good care of it. So make sure that you fortify and furnish the body with high vibrational food, nutrients and vitamins to remain strong of mind, strong of body, strong of character. Nobody is stronger than any other person except in spirit. Muscles are just hardened mass. But a dense soul is heavy, and a light soul exalts. Quite naturally, it will lift your chin as you walk through any room. And this is really what people will, this is what people inspire to, this is what people aspire to, this is what they look up to. How many stories have you heard where strength exists between the lines? It's usually the softest of sob stories because they cannot exist without the other. Again, we're going back to this strength and love and strength and pain and strength and love and pain and sadness, and you can't separate them. They are the same thing. It's a coin with two faces. So to have lost is to be strong, and to have loved is to be weak. But it's all amazing because that's life. And the force of that, which really is what Mars is about, the force of that is potent. Pluto is a higher vibration of Mars. Mars is about directed force, and Pluto is more of an embodied force. So this reading is really talking to me about furnishing. This is the temple. Worship yourself as a temple. This is the temple. So it's called a temple. This is the kingdom of heaven, and this is the temple, and this is the manor. And if there's a saying, and it's, if a man cannot take care of his home, how is he expected to take care of the church? Meaning, if you cannot take care of the body and what goes into it, and what you put it around, when you know that it shouldn't be in that environment, then how can you be expected to take care of the manor? You don't even have enough conviction to remove yourself from the things you know you don't need to be around. That's the weakness. Once you learn strength, you will learn love. Once you learn strength, you will learn self-love. You will then show strength to the people that you love, even if they do not like it, because eventually they will know that that is love. Strength and nasty is not the same thing. Conviction and reason is not dictatorship if it's done through love. In the Roman times, I've mentioned this before, I think. In actual fact, I think I've mentioned this in the readings that I've actually put on the website. So I can't remember whose reading it is, but I have mentioned this before and it's coming back up. It's a bit, trigger warning, so I'm just letting you know. But in the Roman times, it was the most honourable thing a man could do to take his own life, because it's not an easy thing to do. It was seen as an act of valour, because he would rather take his own life than leave the battlefield where his brothers had died. He didn't want to go back without them, so he would take his own life, and that is strength of character. And that is somebody saying, hands down, and we are, blood brothers, let's just say. That's strength. That is real strength. They were fighting for, their lives back then. It wasn't, big tankers, trucks, and bombs in the air. These were men in shields and a sword, and they were getting stabbed up and all sorts. And, that is strength, to want to go to war. You were seen as cowardice if you escaped, if you ran away, if you hid, if you wanted to stay at home, there would be consequences to pay, because they'd say you're weak, because you will not protect your nation. You will not protect your homeland. That is your homeland, your ground. How can you look your wife in the face knowing that you did not protect them and you hid? So there's a message in that, you know. Sometimes when we sacrifice ourselves, it isn't done because we're weak. It's done because we're strong, and we know better, and we know that that's you know what we need to do. I'm actually experiencing something like this myself at the moment, to be quite honest with you. But you know, the message is the same. You know, there will be a day that people realise that what you did was because you were being strong. I'm also hearing now that there is also a time to soften as well. You know, strength is good, you know, but there is a time for strength. And again, it's about balance. Libra, Venus and Mars. This is Aries, A-R-E-S, don't know how you pronounce it, and Venus. They were lovers. They were lovers, and they weren't married. It was all about passion, and they was caught in the act. In actual fact, in the myth, they were caught in the act, and their neck came down. You know, and they were ridiculed, and they were made to feel they were humiliated. Basically, that's what happened. And this really does talk about the pain and the strength of character that is birthed through humiliation, and quite often it's through love and cheating and adultery and stuff like that. So there's a message in there for someone. Shadow work as well. You know, this shadow work is you know, it's the character, it's the inner character, it's the psyche. That is what needs strengthening. The body is secondary in every single thing in life. The body comes second, even down to the food you eat. You should furnish the body with nutrients before you enjoy the food you put in your mouth, because the food you put in your mouth is sensory, and that is just satisfying the beast. But you know, when you're looking at that plate and it's all beige and there's nothing on there, there's not even one green bean, how can you look at that and say that you're doing the best for yourself and you're furnishing the soul? The soul doesn't need that. It needs vitamins and minerals to thrive. Once the soul thrives, the body will follow. Then the mind, you start to feel better, you start to look better, people give you compliments, and everything starts to vibrate higher. And the higher it vibrates, the more you want it. So again, there is another thing and something else in here about absorption, you know, really, really paying attention to what's around you. And I think that what I'm trying to say with this is what weakens you, what weakens your character. That's what you really need to be asking yourself. Okay, so don't think I've used these yet, so we'll do Jupiter and then Saturn. I'm going to try and speed it up a bit now, guys, because I know that I've been keeping you a while. Jupiter again. I keep putting this over here because I'm looking at my screen. Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is about chemistry and connection. Now, funnily enough, I've just been going on about Venus and Mars. Look at these two. These are two opposites. They've got a blue t-shirt on, one's got a red t-shirt on, one's got light skin, one's got dark skin, one's got light hair, one's got dark hair. Again, so but they're meeting in the middle, and it's about balance. And this is really, when we say that we need to balance ourselves, we need to meet in the middle. The middle is the Midgard, and the Midgard is Eden. And Eden is the heart. The Garden of Eden is the middle garden. It's Earth, if you want to think of it that way. Purgatory. Where the two opposites coexist, Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are atom and iron, really, but I'm not going to go into that. But this is what this is about, the middle garden, the meeting in the middle, the meeting of the minds, the meeting of the hearts. That's what this is about. And really this message is about expansion. This is Jupiter. Jupiter is positive, completely through and through. Jupiter is about luck and growth and expansion and all of that good stuff. I've got Venus in Pisces, and so Venus, that's why I do this, you know, spiritual stuff. And I've got Jupiter in Cancer, so two water signs. And Venus, and I quite like it because Venus and Jupiter are the planets, the benefic planets, and their gifts. So I have, if you want to think of it that way, spiritual gifts. I'm not the only person, you know, everybody's gifted somewhere, but I quite like that minor in water signs, so that's cool. And I've got Pluto in Scorpio, so that's dignified, that's really strong. And it's in the 10th house of career, so it's just amazing how astrology plays out sometimes. The Two of Cups is Cancer energy, it's cardinal. This is about the very beginning, right? So, okay, let me just go into this a bit. When you get into a new relationship and you feel those butterflies in your stomach and you're like, God, this person is just like, oh, just wow. And you tend to get a little bit of rose tinted glasses, and it's because you're not thinking with your mind, you're thinking with your gut. Your gut is your second brain, it's your solar plexus, it's your nerve ganglia. That connects to all your vital organs, basically. So that's why when you're feeling these butterflies, it's because all the chemistry is being distributed throughout the system. And it tickles, basically. And that's what this is. This is about growth and expansion. So this is like a surge of chemistry, a surge. Now, really what Jupiter is telling us is, if you want to feel the benefic power of my wisdom and my teachings and my blessings and the gifts that I bestow on mankind, then you really need to get yourself to a sense of balance. It is only when you neutralize the chemical components of your blood that you will meet me. That's how you meet God, basically, and it works because I've done it. And I didn't know I was doing it. It was quite a shock. You know, I've told the story a million times, but it works. Hence why I do this today. It's not a myth. It really does work. When I think of Jupiter, I think of intensity. And if he was speaking to us right now, Jupiter would be saying, open your mind to all the things that you never thought possible. Dare to dream. And dare to take the risk and the gamble, because it will never pay off if you don't. You will always ask yourself, why? Why did I do that? Why didn't I do this? Why did I restrict myself? Why did I hold back? Why didn't I take the risk? Why didn't I just go for it? Jupiter is the one that's pushing you off the edge and saying, do it, do it, do it. He is the one that presents all the opportunities in life that we seek. Jupiter is about travel, far-reaching travel. It's about language and communication and opening up and foreign affairs and, you know, different cultures, different vibrations, basically, and experiencing them all. Because when we are asleep, if you want to think of it that way, the vibrations that we feel are very, very low, because we are thinking in a very earthly manner, very material manner. And earth is very dense. You know that, because air is, you can't grab air, but earth, you can feel it in your hands. It's cold and it's wet and it's dense. And if you're operating on that level and your whole existence is very much wrapped up and tied up in earthly dealings, if you want to think of it like that, you are not experiencing the vibrational frequencies that this universe offers. And let me tell you, when they are, it's endless. Every single day when I do this work, I can pull out the same deck of cards, and every single time, depending on the spread, it's like I'm tasting a different food. I'm drinking a different drink. I'm seeing a different thing. I'm seeing a color I've never seen. I'm hearing a sound that I've never heard. It's like a melody, and you open yourself up, because when it's very low, it's almost like it's one solid. That's why when we say things are monotone, it's like a dead beat. That's what it is. Life is a dead beat. But when you start to lift your vibration up to the heavens, you'll start to hear that and feel the harmony of life and how it flows together. And you'll become really sensitive to flat notes. So when people are speaking and you're like, oh yeah, blah, 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 and you're talking, because Jupiter is about the conversation, and you're talking and you're getting to know somebody, and all of a sudden they slip something in and you're like, meh. It's like someone just dropped a dead note, and it's like, That's a little off. I don't know why you said that. All right, brush it off. Do a little, and then they're chatting away again, and then they get another dead note, and you're like, and they don't even realise they're doing it. But it's because you're vibrating so high, it's almost like a dog whistle. You can hear everything, and it's what they don't say that's the loudest. It gets to a point in actual fact that you get so fed up of hearing the bullshit, you just start to withdraw, and that's when we get to Saturn. But for now, Jupiter is all about opening up, and it's about really finding your tribe, and that will gain a sense of strength for you. That really will furnish the body and the blood, and put you in a state of balance and equilibrium, so that you can fill yourself up with love, so that you can pour it into another. Jupiter represents the husband, the marriage. It's you know, Zeus. Zeus is very, very fertile. Zeus has lots of children, and all the children that Zeus has, you can imagine, is a different vibration. And it is, because we're human beings are vibrational, you know. So Jupiter had children with everybody, basically. So you can imagine the vibrations that he emits. Jupiter, I'm pretty sure, is about 1,300 times bigger than Earth. That's how big it is. And funnily enough, when he's depicted on television and films, it's always a lightning bolt, which is what? A vibration of white light. And that's what Jupiter is. And again, it affects all of us. Wherever Jupiter is in your chart, you will have a lot of, or it will be large. So Tim, if you don't mind me using you as an example, has just put that he's got Jupiter in Taurus. Now, it depends where it is, but Jupiter in Taurus really talks about the body or the throat. So Tim might have like quite a bellowous voice. He might be quite loud when he speaks without realizing. He may speak quite a lot. He might be an excessive communicator. He may have a tendency to overeat because Jupiter is, you know, again, it's got an indulgent nature, and Taurus is all about food. It rules the senses. So Tim's senses might be quite extraordinary. You know, he might maybe pick up scents from quite far away, that kind of thing. But Taurus, again, you might live in a big house. I'm guessing Tim lives in quite a big house because Taurus rules the home. The body is the home, but the actual home that we live in as well. So I'm guessing that his house is quite big and large, probably maybe even a little bit grandeur. He might have, you know, pillars outside the front door and that kind of thing, because that's really what Jupiter does. You know, it really kind of exaggerates whatever it touches. Taurus is ruled by Venus, so Tim probably has a very big heart as well. So yeah, so that's really what Jupiter's message is. You know, open yourself up and really be accepting of other people until they give you a reason not to. That's really what it means when you put boundaries in place, and that's Saturn, and we'll get onto that. You know, don't be scared to open yourself up, because if people show you that they're shit, then they are shit. But if you've built a strong sense of character, you will know that that's not your fault, and you will not hold yourself accountable for that. And you will find it a lot easier to release that person, because you're not reflecting and saying, this is my fault. You know, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not skinny enough, not good looking enough. You know, all of those things, you will not do that, because you will know who you are, and you will stand in your power and say, this is not me, this is you. And if you can't see that, then that's fine. And you don't even need to be nasty about it. You know, you just silently walk away, like I said, quietly, non-conformist. I'm not dealing with that, but I don't have to scream and shout about it either. And really, that's the shit that cuts the deepest. So, final one, guys, and then I'm going to let you go. It's 10 to, you know, I mean, it's 10 minutes until we get into the 2-hour mark. And I know these readings can go on sometimes, but you know, when you're reading these cards, the depth in which you can really go to is amazing. And honestly, I could sit here and read to you for 9 hours straight and not get bored. I really could. But I know everyone's got stuff to do, and to be quite honest, I want to get in the bath. So I've got some little goodies to show you before you leave as well. Some of the stuff that's going to be going up on my shop. So if you want to stick around for that, then do. Okay. So this is Saturn's message. See, this has already come out. I keep forgetting the camera's over here. This has already come out. Two of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles is all about that flow of energy. Again, it's about balance, but this is showing an imbalance. Saturn. Oh, thanks, Kelly. I'm glad. So it's nice to know, because it you know, for me as well as a reader, and to be putting myself on a public platform and, you know, getting deep like this, sometimes those confirmations go a long way, because I don't do this for no reason. And sometimes I feel like I am. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Because if these messages resonate, like the video and share it, because that, it's called an energy exchange. Literally, I've got a card in my hand right now, an exchange of energy, and it needs to be balanced, because it isn't balanced, then you guys don't get what you want and I don't get what I want. And in all fairness, money has nothing to do with it. If you want a personal reading, by all means buy one. You know, I do advise people. I think people should have astrology readings as often, if not more, as they visit the dentist, because this is the only way that you will ever get a checkup from the neck up. It's the closest thing that we have got to monitoring, and not monitoring so much, but giving language to something that exists within us that we cannot see or touch. It really is. And all there is language. All there is language. Everything is spoken. If it's not spoken, it doesn't exist. It's like I'll say, you know, this behind me is a mirror. How do I know that's a mirror? I've been told it's a mirror. That doesn't mean that I know it's a mirror. To me, that could be a scribble. And who's to tell me otherwise? Nobody. Because, you know, but because I've been conditioned to believe that, then that is what I will spend the rest of my life believing. And that's really why you need to do your research. You know, they tell you that if I said to somebody, draw a compass, you know, like to navigate a boat, a ship, a vessel, you'll do probably never eat shredded wheat, or, you know, naughty elephants naughty elephants shoot water, or something like that. Well, I'm going to tell you that that's completely wrong. And I watched a video of this guy, absolutely love him, and he's called Santos Bernanke, I think. I talk about him all the time. It's quite deep though, so you do need a bit of a foundational understanding, but he actually proved that if you was to look to the north, you would not see the sun. Oh, funny. Oh, bless you, Tim. I'm loud as shit, to be quite honest with you, and I'm sick of apologising. I don't apologise for it anymore. You know, you get what you get. People don't have to listen to me, do they, if they don't like it? I've tried to be quiet, it just doesn't work. But yeah, let me just rewind a second. Guys, I've forgotten what I was talking about. Can anyone remind me, because I've completely lost my trail of thought? I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway, I'll move on because it'll probably come back to me. So let's just stick to what I was supposed to be talking about, which is Saturn. Energy exchange. Thank you. I should have known by the card, but I didn't know if I'd gone off on a tangent, because like I often do. Yeah, this is really vibrational frequency. It's about feeding. Now, this is very similar to what you'd see in the star card. The star card has two urns, and the lady on the card is naked and vulnerable. She's expressing her vulnerabilities, and she's feeding into, and the water's pouring into the sea of life, but also onto earth. And that's a card of healing and balance and that kind of thing. This is the same thing, but on a material plane. This is about trying to find that sense of equilibrium in life. You know, this is about trying to have enough time to work, enough time for the family, enough time for friends, enough time for, you know, interests and hobbies, things like that. You know, you have to get it right. And it's really a very independent practice. Spirituality is an independent practice. It's great that there is groups. It's amazing that there's people that want to get together to talk about this stuff. But one thing that you need to understand is numbers are divisible, and they are quite often restrictive. Now, that doesn't mean to say be a loner and don't have any friends, you know, but it really does speak to quality over quantity. You could be someone who's very, very, very popular, and you will exert so much energy trying to fit in and do the things that everybody else is doing, so that you don't feel like you're missing out. You don't feel like you're losing out. You don't feel like you're not up there with the latest gossip and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. You spend so much energy doing that you will constantly be taken away from your independent pursuits. You become a cardboard cutout, a carbon copy of everything around you. And really, you can't live an authentic life when you're just living the life of everybody else because it's on trend. I used to be one of these people, I'm not going to lie, I did, and I used to buy into, I need these trainers and I need that car and I need this and I need that and blah, blah, blah. And in actual fact, it just exerted me, it depleted me of everything. And I spent so much effort trying to maintain that lifestyle that eventually I cracked in a big way, to the point where I nearly lost everything. And it really opened my eyes as to what's real and what's not. After going crazy for a little bit, I think I still am, to be honest. But seriously though, it did. And I thought, you know what? Who am I driving this fancy car for? Why is this fancy car sat outside my house? Who is it satisfying? It's not satisfying me. It's costing me a bomb. Every time something goes, it's costing me hundreds of pounds to fix. And in all fairness, I could buy a £1,000 car and it runs like a dream. Not yet had to have it fixed at all. And I've got money in my pocket, and with money, really, in my opinion, should be used to exchange for experience. It's currency that should be used to exchange for experiences. That's the only thing, in my opinion, and everybody's different, that is worth money, is to get you to places, pay for the fuel on an aeroplane. It's fair dues. It's an energy exchange. I don't mind paying for that because I'm going to get to go sun it up somewhere for a week. If you're just earning money, just to hoard it so that it's in your bank because it makes you feel stable and secure. Well, all right, what if they turn around tomorrow and say, right, everybody, acorns are the new currency. You're broke, completely broke, and all that saving and all that squandering and all that squirreling that you've been doing for the past 10 years is completely irrelevant, because you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you're going to earn it, you might as well enjoy it. They'll do things like try to get you to buy into a mortgage. Why? I'm still going to probably own the mortgage by the time I'm dead. So then it goes on to my son. So then he then has he's got either the burden of trying to, the burden of a large sum of money, because that's what it is. It's a burden, because as soon as it's gone, it's like, shit, what have I done with it? Money just, it is the root of all evil, but we do need it. So again, it's like balance. It's about balance, but this isn't currency, spiritual currency. It's time. So, this is what this card is really speaking about. And Saturn is restrictive. So it's saying if you are spending money, you are wasting your time, basically. And if you are spending time, it's almost like you're wasting money. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, currency is currency. And what is currency, really? It's electric. It's a vibration. When we say the current of the sea, it's the movement of the sea. It's the wave of the sea. Energy, electric, it runs on a vibration, a frequency. Light is a frequency. It emits, it vibrates. Well, white light doesn't vibrate. But the only reason that we see colours is because it vibrates. This is like different atoms vibrating. Yeah, Tim. It like sometimes, and I'm not sure where you're from, but I'm in the UK, so I don't know if that distorts it as well. So this card, really, Saturn is asking you to get real, because that's what Saturn does. Saturn is old father time, and he teaches us some very hard lessons in life. Not many people like Saturn. I'm a little bit like this. So if you want to use me as an example, some of the stuff that I say isn't really nice. It's not easy to digest. It's a little bit like, and I know that I speak like that. I'm well aware of it. I do it on purpose because that's my job. To tell you things that other people won't do. To tell you things, if someone says, do you look fat in that dress? Well, you don't look the best. I'll be honest. I'm not going to say you're fat in that dress. There's a way to do it, but I've seen you look better, yeah. because that's what I get paid to do. That's my job as a reader. You know, but I explain it in a way that people can understand it. I have always been seen as someone who is a little bit hard-faced, and that's because life has hardened me. You know, unfortunately, I've been through a lot of trauma. We all have, but it's hardened me. And it's not that I'm a hard person. You know, I do have thoughts and I do have feelings. It's just that I am very, very real because I've experienced the realness of life, and it's hardened me. I know that I can't be sensitive because, you know, you crumble. Some people haven't had that. Some people have had a very comfortable life. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that it's been very different. So that's what gives us our character. You know, again, it's the forces of the things that were thrown against that. Really, it's like an eroding of a brick. The water smashes a cliff that many times that it completely distorts and changes its shape. And that's really what happens with human beings. That's what we are. We're just like fossils, really. And because I've got Capricorn in the first house, that's it. That's Saturn. Saturn is, you know, restrictive. I'm someone that is quite disciplined. And, you know, I do try to discipline myself quite a lot with the things that I will put into my body. And this was not always the case, but it is very much now. The things that I put into my body, the things that, you know, the people that I surround myself with, you know, the conversations even that I will have with people, if I don't like it, it's not, I'm not rude about it, but I'll just basically make them aware that what they're talking about is very irrelevant. It's not something that I want to discuss, especially if you're talking to me about other people. Get a life, tell me about yourself, or keep your mouth shut. I'm not interested. If it's not coming from your mouth directly, I don't want to know, because it's gossip and it's trivial, and I just don't like it. I'm not saying that people don't talk. Everybody talks, you know, well, that's what we're built to do. But, you know, there's a different vibration. And if that's what you're doing, stay the fuck away, because I'm not interested. So I'm a bit hard because of that. That's what people see me, and it's a bit threatening. But it's because I'm protecting my energy. I don't want to absorb that. It's negative. And if you can't change that frequency, then I'm just not going to put myself around it. So there is this energy of pulling back with Saturn. Saturn restricts and it shrinks and it goes, ooh, and it disappears into the shadows like you'd expect Satan to do. It rules things like demons, you know, oh my God, it's really bad and it's dark and it's blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, but you know what? Get real, because Satan is very, very real. Satan you can think of as a bacteria that destroys the good cells of the body. And he robs us, and we do it willingly because, for example, we'll do it through sex. Sex is very destructive for the soul. It kills the soul every single time that fluid is released from the body. That fluid is the fluid that keeps you alive. How do you know? Because when it's released, it creates life. There's a reason why women that have had lots of children look more depleted than women that haven't, because all of that creative fluid has been released from the body. In actual fact, there's no such thing as old age. There isn't. We're not supposed to age and we're not supposed to die, because if we can retain the fluid of our body and keep it as pure as we can, meaning no carbs foods, no sugars, no astringents, no alcohol, is the worst thing. That's why it's called the devil's juice. It strips everything of the you know, that's why people turn to addiction and they end up looking really coarse and rough. The skin looks grey. You are basically taking all the good things in your body that keeps it alive and you are killing it. It's complete blasphemy. That's what it is, upon the soul. You know, that's why you shouldn't be doing it, basically. But we're animals and we will, because we're not perfect, because that's what spirit is. We just aim for perfection. So really that's what this card's about. This is about striking that balance, getting that chord. It's about harmony, trying to bring in a sense of harmony into your environment, in your world, something that works for you. It's not going to work for everybody else. This is a card of do as I say, not as I do. What I do, my practice isn't it's not going to be for everybody, but you just take the little bits what you can and you apply them, but as long as you apply them, because you can't gain from something if you're not actively partaking in it. Don't make sense. Can't go to bingo and expect to win full house when you haven't even got a sheet or whatever. I don't know what they're called because I don't play it, but you know what I mean. You've got to be in it to win it. And it's the same with spirituality. You want to be psychic, well, do the work, because it all happens in here and it's a silent language. And no one else can do that apart from you. So you have to get quiet and you have to clean out all the bad so that you don't have a problem with sitting inside your own mind. And that's the hardest thing to do for a lot of people, because there's a lot of bad blood that people have and a lot of bad karma that they've brought in from a past life. So really, the two in the Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism, is Binah, and Binah is Saturn, and it's the high priestess. It's the darkness, the shadow. It's the shadow. When the sun casts a light on your human form and it forms a shadow, that's the true you. That's who you are. That's you looking at yourself in its truest form. That shadow is your soul. It's your soul that stands out from the body, and it will only do that by the will of the light. So I hope that makes sense for some people out there. But this is very much about, creating a sense of, this is about a legacy. This is about doing something repetitively to the point where you become very well known for it, and again, you want to start thinking about things like truthfulness, honesty, clarity. When you say something to people, say it with your chest, don't back down. Why? If that's what you mean it, but mean it in a nice way, in a sense of, I don't have to say it with venom in my voice. I'm saying it with love, but I'm still saying it. And that's the mastery. This is what, Capricorn energy. Capricorn is the masters. They know how to manipulate, and manipulate's not a bad word. They know how to manipulate because they're very good at being very real, and they can see what the problems are and what needs to go where and stuff like that. So then what they'll do is they'll assimilate all that very quickly and say, I know what you need, this is it. And they do it in a very real way. And a lot of tarot readers, and I'm not slagging anybody off, everybody's different, but their worlds will exist very much up in that celestial realm. So that's why when you go for a reading, it's all very magical and it's all very like, ooh, and it is. Because they're missing out the very important bit of, well, how can I use it? How come you've got that skill and I haven't? How come this psychic can see stuff and I can't? Well, you can. They just don't want you to know that. So really, what do? They become like the government that condition you to believe that you don't have that ability, but you do. And that's why I do astrology, because astrology makes it very real and it brings it all down to earth, and it really puts it into, it takes a harmony and it turns it into music, so that everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet and we're all doing it together. Because really, that's what true ascension is. It isn't about figuring it out and keeping it for yourself. It's about figuring it out and sharing it with mankind, because it's the only way that you're going to spread love, when people start to love themselves. So that's really what this reading's about, to be honest. Woof, went off on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? So let me just move my my screen back so that I can see what I'm doing, because I've got bad eyesight and it looks like I'm not looking at you. So let's see some comments then. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Tim's in USA. To advise them on having what their path, but I can share how I work from my experience. It's similar. Maybe the most kind of stuff. Absolutely, Tim, and that's all we're here to do at the end of the day. Like I've just said, can you see how bright my space is now that I've put my screen back on? At the end of the day, I've just been saying that, and I am going to let you guys go because it's 2 hours that I've kept you now. But language is everything. If it isn't spoken, then it doesn't exist, literally. And this is why communication is such a big part of existence. When you start to study language, at the minute I'm studying Latin, and it's really, really interesting. I've been looking at it for a while, but I am studying Latin. I've got a few books that I'm reading, but I also have an interest in Greek as well, and all the Romance languages, so Italian, Spanish, French, Romanian, I believe, and I think it's Portuguese, but I might be wrong. But really, when you actually understand the structure of language, it isn't so much about the words. Words are containers. Words are containers, and I'll give you an example of what I mean. Okay, and this is a very random word, but there's a reason why I've written this in this book. Hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means androgynous, okay? And andros in Greek means well, and is A-N-D, okay, so that you can take that as DNA, and droth is man, so it basically is the man with DNA, so the animal man, you know. And then you've got hermaphrodite is a mix of Hermes and Aphrodite, and these are the two opposing deities, you know, the Greek deities. So it really talks about that, you know, no gender, basically. So these are how these words were formulated to mean something at some point. And as civilization has progressed, we have fallen off, basically. We have fallen short. The reason why we fall short is because there's 12 signs in a wheel and we are only in the womb for 9. So there's 3 signs that we're all deficient in. So if, like, for example, Tim, I'm sorry I'm using you as a bit of a scapegoat here, but if you are born in Taurus, you will be deficient in Taurus, Gemini, and Cancerian traits. You will often have health conditions related to these 3 signs. So with Tim, he might get tonsillitis. He might get, I've got a friend who's Taurus, she's got tonsil stones. You know, you might be prone to water retention. You'll put weight on easily. You may even suffer with regards to your genitalia, okay, something like that. Or let's say, for example, you might be prone to upset stomach and diarrhea, because Taurus is the body and the food and what's digested, what's it taken in, and Scorpio, its opposing sign, is what is excrement, so it's input and output. So Aries, which is interesting, is the skull and the mind and the brain. And I don't know if any of you have noticed, but Aries is always something really, really noticeable about an Aries. And I've got a big scar on my head because I got hit with a car when I was younger. I actually died and came back, which is probably why I'm so freaking spooky. But yeah, so and I have had issues with concerning my mentality. So that's interesting, and it's because my body is naturally unfurnished with the most important salt, which is the Aries salt, and everybody's probably deficient in that. Actually, this is why there's so much anxiety. The anxiety is a lack of iron in the blood. So if anybody, no, it's okay, Tim, don't worry about it. It's I'm just using you as a bit of a scapegoat because you've given me the information that I needed. So if anybody is suffering with anxiety, okay, I highly advise that you start to take iron supplements, because that's going to lift your mood. They tell you to get outside and start moving your body, strengthening your body. Why? Because strength comes from Mars, and Mars is iron. As soon as you start to introduce iron into the blood, it attracts oxygen. It releases the pressure of the body, because the body is somewhat like a submarine because there's fluid within it. And yeah, there's fluid within it, and what you'll find is you'll start to float, because depression and anxiety, sorry, not anxiety, I'm lying, sorry, depression, that's what it is, depression. When you are depressed and you feel heavy and weighted, it's because the pressure in the air around the vessel is more, and it's more dense, so you feel like this and you're like, what's wrong with me? And that's what it is. As soon as you start to introduce iron into the bloodstream and you start to attract more oxygen as well, it's oxygenated blood basically, and that's going to lift the spirits, because what happens when you blow air on fire, it ignites. So if you're deficient in these things, because it can all be related through elements, this is how you need to understand elements to understand nature and how things work. Once you start to understand that, you'll understand everything. Illnesses and how people think and how people move, and you know, you can speak to somebody and they'll reply to you, and they won't say what they mean, but you'll be able to say it because of what they're doing and how they're acting and the fact that they're looking away and they won't look you in the eye and they're sat like this, and you know, and you'll pick up on these things. And that's really what psychic ability is about. People think that it's like, you know, some witch shows up in the middle of the night and blesses you, and you know, maybe for some people that happened, but that's not how it worked for me. You have to really work at this stuff until eventually it clicks and you become fluent, and it's like any other language. So and then you will start to see the golden thread. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. I did have some bits and bats to show you, but to be quite honest with you, time's gone on and I'm not going to keep you anymore because I do tend to talk quite a lot. So I'm going to leave it there. If any of you have got any questions, please let me know. I am just going to share this before I go with you, just to let you know that for the next week, if you book in the next 7 days, you will get £10 off a natal reading. So this is the astrology, really the composition of your blood and what makes you you. And you can get £5 off a tarot reading. Okay, so that's just a little offer that I've got going for the next week. The shop's going to get filled up in the next week with some more products. You know, I've been working around the clock. I've developed a whole astrology masterclass, a whole tarot masterclass. These are things that are going to start getting rolled out. I've got some events coming up. I'm really busy. I'm making products and I'm trying to do the website and create content as well. So keep an eye out. Go online and to my website and add the app. Okay, because every time I post, sometimes blog posts are better when I'm trying to explain stuff because these videos won't last that long. So if you add the app, it will tell you when I've posted something, and it will usually be to do with the transits that are going on at the moment because it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you. It will affect your life to some degree. So that's that. So there's them to go off. If you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to say thank you to everybody for bearing with me tonight. It's been a bit of a long one. I'll be back again next week with a different reading. And if anyone wants to know anything or you want me to do a particular type of reading, just let me know. I'm always open to ideas and stuff like that. Please share this video if you can, just to try and get it out there. You know, it literally takes 2 seconds. And for the amount of views that I'm getting on these videos in comparison to the shares and the likes, it's quite disheartening to think that lots of people are benefiting from this knowledge, but I'm not really receiving anything back in return. Like I said, it is an exchange of energy because I could spend my time elsewhere, and I don't want to because I do like doing these things, you know. I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just being honest. So right, I'm gonna love you and leave you guys. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. I'll see you soon.